Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so happy you are here. It is a beautiful day to be here to get some support. That's what this podcast is all about. With every episode, it's about building up your tools and your resources and your ability to create a life that you really love. Today is such an important episode because we're really going to outlay and put out the foundational tools of what you really need to have to build the relationship that you want to build. Now, if you're anything like me, you probably have many of the components of a really amazing relationship. I know there was a time when I sat back and looked at my life and I'm like, I have an amazing spouse. I'm a good person. We have beautiful children. We have enough money. Could we have more money? Yes. Who couldn't? But we had enough money. We had jobs that we liked and were meaningful. And yet it didn't feel like everything was there. It felt like we were sort of slipping away. Something was sort of missing. And I really see this as what was missing is we didn't have a good, strong foundation. And that's what I want to bring to you today is we are going to figure out what is the foundation that we need to really create the relationships that we love. Here on the podcast is where you can grab your free information and tools and tips that you can get going right away from. Over in our paid area, in the subscription area, you can think of that like the training academy, right? When our spouses go off to training academy, this is where they learn all of the stuff and they start to put it into practice, go out and use it, and then get coaching to help move them along in their learning. Now, don't get me wrong, the subscription is not as tough and as hard as that training academy, but that is the place where you start to actually implement and do things and get all the support to learn all of the details and nuances of the tools. But today, I want to give you the real foundational tools to get you started to really think about your relationships in a new way, how you're relating to your partner in a new way, this foundational piece. I like to think of the foundation of change. This is what our foundation piece is called, as a foundation of change. I like to think of it like the truck, the fire truck, right? Which is basically this infrastructure, this big thing that is used to store a whole bunch of different tools that you have training when to use all of the different tools for the different particular situations that come up. Today is really about establishing what does that truck look like? What is the main components, the main structure that you need to go out and do the work that you need to do in your relationships? This part is so important. I mean, our firefighters, they don't drive around in a box truck or a semi truck, right? That it's just like this big open space and they dump all of the things into it, right? You don't have like the chainsaw next to the blood pressure cuff, right? It's not just laying in one big pile and getting thrown all over the place when they go down the road. It's this very organized structure to help make it easier for them to do their job. And this is what I have for you today, is to start building the infrastructure, the scaffolding, the foundation to be able to really take care of your relationship and to build it the way that you want it built. To bring more connection and love and support, say goodbye to that resentment and sort of feeling of it's just not all here. Now, the foundation, this foundation of change has three parts to it, right? Think of change like the delta symbol, a triangle. Back in the day, if you ever learned shorthand or knew somebody who knew shorthand, when things were actually written down on pieces of paper, you would put down a triangle shape that meant change. Delta, it means change. 3 parts, there's 3 corners to it. Now, most of the time, when people want to see change, when they want something to be different in their lives, they look to one specific part, which is the action part, the go part. We think about in our relationships, oh, if I bring flowers or cook the perfect meal, or we have a date night, or we have sex, or we just do something romantic and interesting, or I give my person their love language, if I speak in their love language, if I do these actions, then we'll feel better, right? We'll feel more connected. We won't just have a marriage, but we'll be in it and it'll feel like how we want it to feel. This is super common for us to look for these actions. Just tell me what I need to do. My other company, I teach adults overcoming fear in water. I teach adults how to swim. And I see this all the time. They come to me and they say, oh, I've watched all the YouTube videos, I've taken other swimming lessons, or I've had some friend or loved one who's a really good swimmer that has told me all of this stuff. Like, I understand I'm supposed to go under the water and move my arms and my legs, and then I somehow am a swimmer, but I don't feel like a swimmer. Something is missing here. And this is what is always missing, is that we're focused so much on the action that we're missing the rest of the foundation. We're missing the other 2 parts. So it's off balance. It doesn't work out. Action, of course, is part of it, is always part of. We have to do things in our lives, but without the other 2 parts, it doesn't quite work. Now, I'm going to make this really easy for you to remember what these other 2 parts are. We kind of have a way of thinking about this. So let's imagine that you were going to run a race, or there was a race happening, like a track race. And there's some people up in the stands, and there's some people actually standing on the track, and there's some people that are on the grassy area in the middle. And then the starter person walks out and yells, "Go!" And everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, the race has started. Let's start running," right? It'd be this very chaotic, unorganized, weird way of starting a race, right? Starting with the action part, starting with go, if they just yelled out the go part. So let's think about, in this race, what would they really do? How would this kind of actually, what would you do before the go, right? What would the starter say? They would say, get ready, get set, then go, right? This would get us all organized and off into the race. So these are the 3 parts I want you to think of to build up this foundation. The 3 parts is get ready, get set, and then go. Let me explain this a little bit more. What is the get ready and get set? The get ready and the get set, if you think about that race, these are much more mental steps. I get ready. That means I come in. It's about who I am. Where am I? I've got to get myself together. I got to figure out what my story is, where I am, get myself here, right? Okay, I got to get ready. And then to get set, I have my focus on what it is I'm doing. What do I want? Where am I going? Right? I'm get set. That finish line is over there. And then I can go step into action and go. So these are our 3 parts. Get ready. Where am I? Get set. Where do I want to go? And then step into action. 3 parts, 2 parts mental, 1 part doing, 1 part physical. So let me give you a little bit of an example here to flesh it out a little bit, how we use this foundation of change. So if you're in a disagreement with your significant other, with your spouse, if you just skip into action, this is, you can see just like yelling at each other or ignoring each other or festering on it, right? This doesn't bring the change that you want to see in your relationship. We already know this. I'm sure we've all lived through this, have some sort of disagreement, and you're either butting up in each other's faces, proving the other one wrong or proving yourself right, whatever it is there, or giving up on it, going to your separate ways, and just kind of letting it eat you apart. So if we want to bring the foundation of change in here, in the get ready part, we want to take this kind of 10,000-foot view of where you are at. What is the story that you're saying? What is it that you are feeling? What meaning are you making out of this disagreement? What are you trying to prove? Where are you? Gotta really be honest and get collected and understand that. In that get set corner, what do you really want? Is it most important to you that you are right and they are wrong? Probably not. Maybe it really feels like that sometimes. But what do we really, truly want in our relationships? We want things like feeling love, being connected, being together on something. So we really want to, where am I now? What do I actually really want? And then we can have the go to talk with compassion, to talk with curiosity, to talk with love. Whole different way of being in a conversation or being engaged with your significant other than just coming at it in that action place of argumentative or ignoring each other. Getting these two foundational pieces first, where am I? Where do I want to go? And then acting from that place of keeping that in focus. This is our truck, right? This is our main tool, our main foundation. In each of these components, the get ready, the get set, and the go, there is lots of other tools, right? This is just the framework in which to put lots of different tools. And I'm going to bring those tools to you in the podcast. So that's why you're going to keep coming back. Fill out each of those little boxes, each of those. I always see them. My kids love to go visit dad at the fire station, right? And they pull up each of those boxes on the truck and see what's in there, right? Learn how to use it all. That stuff is all coming. But for right now, I want you just to start with being curious about this foundation. Where are you right now? What are your thoughts and what are your stories that you are saying about your relationship right now? Get really curious. Where do you want to go? Right? What do you want from your relationship? How do you want your relationship to be? What do you really desire the most? And then what action are you willing to take? Let's just notice today, you are taking an action. Listening to this podcast, contemplating these questions, you are showing up different. You are a different person for your relationship. You are a different person for yourself after you've taken this action of engaging with this podcast. Who you are now is not the same person that came a few minutes ago, because you are changing by looking at these foundational things. You have a new view, you have a new outlook, you have a new curiosity. What is the next thing? Who are you now? That takes you back to that first step of get ready. I'm going to get ready to take another action. This last year, my kid hiked a 3,000-mile hike. It's a big deal. He hiked it on his own. It was something he'd never done before. I mean, he'd done hiking, he'd done a little backpacking, but not multi-day on his own hiking. And he told me, Mom, all you have to do is take one step at a time. I just had to keep taking one step at a time. He never doubted that he was going to complete this 3,000-mile journey because he just kept taking it one step at a time. And that is your job right now. You took a step today to listen to this podcast, to put yourself and your relationship first for this amount of time. Even if you're out on a walk or you're doing something else, whatever it is, I know this is how we listen to podcasts often, and that's amazing. But you said, today is the day I'm going to focus on my relationship for this amount of time. This has changed you. It has changed how you show up to your relationship. Bring that into your story. That is the new you. Where do you want to go? And what is your next step? Next step, listen to the next podcast. Come over and check out the membership. Subscribe. Tell your spouse about this. Take a next step. Just like my kid, one step at a time, you will make that 3,000-mile journey. Perhaps it's even a longer journey with our relationships that we want to have them last for even longer. I don't know. It's up to you and what you desire and what you want. Together, let's be committed, be present, show up with curiosity and love for yourself and your spouse. Thanks so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you can get every episode. And when you are ready to be in action, come find us. Facebook, Instagram, or our website. It's all the same name, relationshipsonfire.com. We've got that S on there. There's lots of us having relationships. So relationships with an S on fire.com. Thanks so much. Saying goodbye, your fire and water gal, Cori Myka. See you next time.